I'm Al Shadow.
I'm Amanda Bergman.
I'm Caitlin Conlon. So first of all, we'd like to ask you, our fellow employees, a few questions. We'd like you to reflect on your college years, maybe when you were a sophomore. So raise your hand if when you were in college, if you liked to schedule your own classes.
Good. Now raise your hand if you are a part of any extracurricular activities in college. Oh, okay.
All right, now raise your hand if you would pick your schedule just so that you'd be able to do certain other activities during the day.
Awesome. Now raise your hand if you think you would dislike if someone chose all that for you. Not allowing any time for free time, clubs, those extracurricular activities, and even time for meals. Okay, good. So all of you who raise your hand, this is what it's like to not have a flexible schedule. So to start, we just wanted to go over our outline. We're going to be going over our formal proposal, the history of traditional workplace, the evidence of the effectiveness of our proposal, who's already benefited from this, the popular press and which stakeholders are going to be affected, along with that, the benefits and the potential risks and challenges that our policy will bring, along with the conclusion. So to start with our proposal, so we would propose that our policy would implement a 40 hours per week accumulative from Monday through Friday. So your workers would be able to choose how many hours per week they'd be able to work. However, we would put a maximum 10 hours a day so that they wouldn't overwork themselves. In addition to that, we would implement a check and balance system. So we would implement a hiring process, and we would have a coordinated communicator, aka the CC, who would overlook the check and balance system that we would implement. Among that, she would create a mass schedule, which each employee would have to sync up their schedule to 2 weeks in advance. This would allow proof of progress when you're doing your flexible work hours, and at the end of the week, she would check in with each person to know that they're doing their job. Also, we would implement that you would have to show your face 20 hours at least in office to encourage a friendly work environment, and also so that it wouldn't be a ghost town in the workplace.
Now I'm going to go over a brief history of the workplace. So as we all know, a typical workday is 9 to 5. And this really originated during the Industrial Revolution, when people started working in factories and were specializing less at home. So the separation of work and life really began. So there are 24 hours in a day, and most people thought it would be logical to have a typical day separated into 3 different sections. So 8 hours of work, 8 hours of rest, 8 hours of leisure. The Ford Motor Company definitely paved the way for the 9 to 5 hours. They found that those 8 hours were the most productive for their workers, so they implemented a policy where workers worked from 9 to 5. So as we progress throughout history, there are advances in technology that make the workplace less strict and less in one location. So with technology, we are able to be more mobile. So if we start with the typewriter, and then we go to computers, then there are pagers, then we have clunky cell phones, then we have laptops, then we have smartphones. So as we progress throughout history and technology changes, people are allowed to work not at one specific place in the workplace. So the word telecommuting emerges, where people can commute to work virtually. So also, the term flex place originates, which means you can work anywhere at any time. So this graph, we wish it was a little more current, but that's okay. It's from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It shows the changes from 1985 to May 2001. So it is a graph that shows the percent of full-time wage and salary workers with flexible schedules. So even though this is less than 20 years, there is an over 10% growth in the changes of flex time policies, and we really attribute that to technology, because if you look back, 1985 is a very different time than it was in 2001. So people realize that you don't have to be one place to work a job. People also realize you don't have to have strict hours for working. So because you need to adapt to regular life, like transportation, your kids' schedules, maybe you want to pursue an education, the strict 9 to 5 hours don't really work. So people started to realize that they need to manage their work-life balance, and then they realized that they need to adapt different hour systems. So the most typical way that businesses use flex times is the system of core period, which is about 50% of the workday is devoted to being in office. The other time is considered your flex time. So that time you can do whatever you need to do, whether it's commute to work, do your work at home, things like that. So if we use the college comparison, when you think about it, your classes, you go to school physically about 4 hours a day, but you spend the rest of your time doing whatever you need to do that makes you the most productive, whether that's taking a nap, calling your mom, doing your work, having lunch, hanging out with friends, all of that. So today in the business world, people have realized that having a flexible workplace has really increased productivity. So there's a variety of different policies depending on the industry that really benefit the company as a whole.
So I'm going to talk about the evidence of flex time effectiveness. So a poll on people who have flex time has shown that actually 61% of employees actually work more when they're able to pick their own schedule versus 26% who work about the same and 13% who actually work less. We think this is because employees are more appreciative of this kind of schedule and are more likely to want to work for their employers. In the UK, this is more prevalent. They were more willing to adapt with the new technology, and they found out that about half of their employees are happier, their revenue goes up, and there's a 39% increase in productivity overall. Currently, only 67% of employees occasionally work from home, while a much smaller percent, about 32 or 38%, get to pick their flex hours on a regular basis. Only 40% of employees have a choice about their work shifts, or 45% have control over their unpaid overtime. 82% of employees allow time off during the workday that are still paid while they have to deal with certain emergencies that come up with the kids or doctor's appointment or other things of that nature. And for our comparison company, we decided to look at IBM, which is one of the Fortune 500 companies. They implemented a flexible work hour schedule, and they found that productivity's gone up because they see that employees, as well as their prospective customers, don't really need the typical 9 to 5. People are working all the time. They function on computers, so if things break down, they're going to need people working. People might call after hours, so they allow a lot of their employees to work half in office and half out.
So for some popular press, this following quote is from a worker from IBM. I'm just going to summarize the quote. She publicly expressed her satisfaction with the company's policy because it allowed her to be a mom in her free time, but also allowed her to pursue her career goals. And this is a quote from Marissa Mayer. As we know, she's pretty controversial sometimes. So she's the CEO of Yahoo. When she became in charge, she took away their work at home policy. She believes that having everyone come to work is what Yahoo needs right now to really progress further and be up there with their competitors. And from an academic standpoint, Phyllis Mullen is a sociologist, and she analyzed the way that people work, and in the 21st century, everyone wants everything now, and the most productive way to do that is to allow employees to have their own control of their schedules. And these following headlines, if you look through the internet and newspapers like Huffington Post, Forbes, CNN, New York Times, everyone is talking about flex time recently.
Okay, so our policy is going to affect a number of people positively. Some of the stakeholders that it affects are the employees' families, society and customers, investors, stakeholders, and obviously the employer and the business. And there are many benefits that come to all of these people. Here's
O2 Business presents Flexible Working in 60 Seconds. It used to be that your employees had to be under the same roof to be productive. But flexible working allows more control over how, when, and where they work, helping to improve productivity. And whether they use a smartphone, laptop, or tablet, they can work on the go with secure access to the latest emails, calendars, documents, and information, which helps lower costs, increase productivity, and allows your people to stay connected to everyone and everything, wherever they may be. which keeps everyone happy. That's just a bite-sized glimpse of what flexible working can offer. Learn more about how simple changes can help your business.
Okay, so the benefits for the business is better teamwork. So all of the employees are afforded equal flexibility, so all of the team is going to be supportive of one another. There's not going to be any hard feelings between employees taking time off because they're all working 40 hours a week. Also, there's going to be a more motivated team, so it's going to be increased productivity. The worker's going to be satisfied, and there's going to be a decrease in absenteeism because they are basically already saying the days that they need to take off, and they can schedule when they need to take off, so absenteeism is not going to be a huge issue. Employees are going to be loyal to the company. Employees are going to be super satisfied with flexible hours because they get to basically plan their entire lives around their work and work around their lives. They get to have an equal balance, and it's going to create smaller turnover rates for the business. Also, attractiveness to potential employees. Employees look for flex time. I don't know why you wouldn't want flex time in your work. It's pretty nice to be able to schedule, once again, work into your life, and you get to work from home for half of the days. And then benefits for the employees. So healthier lives. Employees are creating their own schedule. That is going to be ideal to create a balance in their lives between work and their life. Family relations. They get to have a stronger relationship with their kids. So if they have to pick their kids up at a certain time or go to their rehearsal or really anything, they can schedule that into their work day and they can make it all work. It shows the business cares. An employee won't feel like just a number. They'll feel as if the company actually cares about their life outside of work. Reduce commute stress. So if there's rush hour traffic for a specific time for an employee, they can schedule their work around that time so they don't hit traffic and they won't be stressed out at work. Also stay connected. So as we talked about, smartphones, laptops, tablets, you can stay connected really anywhere with your work so you don't feel as if you're missing out on something even if you're not in the office all the time.
So I'm going to talk about customized workplace and how it's conducive to family. As you can see by my chart up here, the vast majority of your day is spent at work with only maybe 1.3 hours spent caring for others. Having kids is kind of exhausting and almost a full-time job in and of itself. Having flexible hours would make it a lot easier to be there for your kids, help your spouse or partner with their children. You'll be a more involved parent. You'll be a little bit less stressed out, be able to get things done. Doctor's offices are usually only open typically between 9 to 5, so trying to schedule an appointment for a kid around your schedule is very difficult. Next slide. And loyalty. A survey from flexjobs.com, most people surveyed said that they would be more willing to stay with a job that's willing to give them more hours at their own specific times because it shows that they care about them and they want them to succeed and continue on with their job. Actually, a lot of people surveyed said that they would actually turn down a promotion, a job, or even more hours specifically because they need time to plan for other things and other activities of their day. And so there's more control over the work-life balance, which we've kind of talked about that. That's just the balance of time you spend at work versus time you spend at life. Being able to sort of control that would allow you to do other activities, like let's say you want to go to a concert, but it's during work time, you'll be able to make that happen.
So voluntary overtime. Going back to our proposal, we said that the max hours you can work in a day is 10 hours, but sometimes you need to work overtime if there's a big project or something like that. But with the flexibility, you were able to work whenever and wherever you would like. And we really emphasize that to our workers that it is much easier to schedule 2 hours a week of overtime rather than an 8-hour day. So you get the actual work done, but you do it in a more convenient time. And if we go back to the college comparison, if you think of doing a project, it's much easier to do it gradually than to do it all the 8 hours right before it's due. So not only whenever you can do it, it's also wherever you can do it. So depending on what the project is that you need the overtime, you can do it at whatever convenient location that you need to, and it also reduces travel costs, travel time. That is wasted time and money spent traveling that you could use for a specific project that you need to work overtime with. Going back to our proposal, we have a scheduled system, but sometimes the system doesn't allow for all the complete coverage in the office that we need, or sometimes a person will call out sick and someone will need to step up for a certain project, but because it is convenient for your location and for your time, people are more willing to step up when they need to.
So the theory of reciprocity, is a social psychology aspect where it refers to the give and take of a relationship or the response to an action. In general, studies have found that when people feel that they're being rewarded or they are given actions that are positive, they want to give back. So in a workplace, they want to return that favor. If you're given flexible hours and able to control your own schedule, that's more conducive to their work, so they want to give back by being a better team member, and they want to coordinate with others, their schedules are better and everything like that. So this will benefit your company because your employees will be a little bit more loyal to you, and they will want to stay in their work and they'll want to do their best work possible. For this will lessen the job